Hi boys and girls, Mrs. Blackburn here for day 2 of our shared reading. Let's go ahead and begin. Our learning goal. Students will identify the genre, text structure, author's purpose, and main idea of the shared read. Your success criteria, I can successfully identify the genre, text structure, text features, author's purpose, and main idea after the second read of the passage. So we will go ahead and with our second read, so make it nice and large so that you can see it. Okay, I think you can see that pretty well. All right, tectonic plates. And you can go ahead and read right along with me on this second read. Our planet Earth is a bubbling cauldron of red-hot magma with an eggshell-thin rocky crust. The crust of the Earth is webbed with cracks and fault lines. These fault lines reveal something unbelievable about our planet. Gigantic chunks of the Earth's surface are slowly moving. Like big boats in a tiny pond, these chunks or plates are bumping into, pushing off, and sliding past each other. Because these rocky plates are huge, bigger than continents, they crash into each other in spectacular ways. Earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis are all caused by the Earth's slowly wandering tectonic plates. The Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ocean is surrounded by an especially active group of tectonic plates. These plates meet each other at boundaries. The boundaries can be traced on a map, like the one shown opposite. Together, all of the plate boundaries might seem like a gigantic jigsaw puzzle that covers the Earth's surface. The Ring of Fire gets its name from the many active volcanoes along its border. The Pacific Plate also has volcanoes under the ocean's surface. Earthquakes are common along the Ring of Fire's fault lines. To make matters worse, an earthquake under the ocean can cause a powerful shockwave of energy through the water. The wave of energy can build into a massive and dangerous tsunami wave as it approaches the shoreline. The people who live along the shores of the Pacific Ocean have to be prepared for many types of emergencies. Scientists who study the Earth, called geologists, are learning how the Earth's plates drift into, away from, and past each other. The area around the Pacific Ocean is a giant lab for these geologists. Some of these geologists study the trenches and mountain ranges lying deep beneath the waves on the ocean's floor. Other scientists focus their work on trying to understand earthquakes. These seismologists have covered the planet with instruments that detect vibration or seismic activity in the Earth's crust. Still other scientists concentrate their attention on the volcanoes found at the boundaries of tectonic plates. The Ring of Fire presents all of these scientists with many clues about how forces from deep under the Earth's crust are shaping our planet. Okay, so over here we have map of the major tectonic plates and the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean region. So you can see we have Asia and the Eurasian plate, the Ring of Fire, Australia, Indo-Australian plates, Pacific Ocean and the Pacific plate, North America, the North American plate. Here we have the Nazca plate, in South America, the continent of South America, then the South American plate. Okay, so we'll go on to this next section, this next heading. 3 kinds of plate boundaries: the convergent, divergent, and transform. Sometimes the Earth's plates are pushed into each other. A collision of plates creates a convergent boundary. This slow motion crash of tectonic plates can produce awesome results. Earthquakes are caused when 2 plates collide. If 2 continents crash, new mountains are formed. The Himalayan mountains, home to some of the tallest mountains on the planet, are still growing. They are being pushed up as the Indian plate, ever so slowly, forces its way into the Eurasian plate. This collision began over 50 million years ago and continues even today. When two plates converge or come together in the ocean, a deep trench is formed. The Aleutian Trench along the northern Pacific Ocean shows where the Pacific Plate forms a fault line. When two plates move away from each other, they form a divergent boundary. Divergent boundaries allow some of the magma from deep under the Earth's crust to bubble up to the surface. When the magma cools, it becomes a new rock. Some parts of the seafloor are spreading this way, creating new oceanic crust. Plates might slip past each other in a transform boundary. When the plates move suddenly, they grind against each other. This powerful force releases immense energy in the form of earthquakes. Transform boundaries are responsible for the long San Andreas Fault in California on the Pacific Plate's western edge. All right, great. So you can see how this read is different from our first read. Our first read, we were looking for words. We were decoding. We were looking for possessive nouns. We were looking for plural nouns. We were figuring out different words. But this read helps us understand the text a little bit more. We're also going to look for some different things, such as, first thing I want us to look for is we're going to look for and think about the genre. So when I talk about genre, I want to know what kind of book this or what kind of passage this is, correct? So we know that we have like a big genre, like a big umbrella, and then underneath that we have subgenres. So I know that one of the big umbrellas of genre would be nonfiction. So I think we could all agree that this would be nonfiction, correct? That everything in here, we have all kinds of facts. There isn't anything like talking animals, anything that's fantasy, it's not kind of legend, it's not a myth, or anything like that. It's not a biography, it's not about someone, it's not something that I wrote about myself. So we know that this is nonfiction. Now, within nonfiction, we have subgenres. So what kind of subgenre do you think that would be? Okay, hopefully you're thinking of this word here. Okay, hope you can see that pretty well. Yes. If you were thinking expository text, that's exactly what it is. This is expository text. So that's the genre. Remember how we spell genre? Genre. Okay, that's the type of passage it is. Expository text. Very well done. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is we want to talk about text structure. Now, this week we were working with text structure a lot. Last week in writing, I did some lessons on what we did two different text structures last week. We did chronological text structure. Remember that one? And we also did it in our reading mini lessons. We did it in writing and reading mini lessons. And then we did temporal. Those were the two text structures that we touched on. So chronological is when something happens at a specific time in order. For example, if in one of the lessons we were talking about different artists, and we said they were born in, for example, 1604, and then in 1618 they went to college, and then in 1625 they had opened their own art studio. So that would be in chronological order. Things happen in a very specific time, and you can tell when a text is organized in chronological order because you can pick out those dates and those times. It's a very specific time order, chronological. If an author organizes something in temporal, that is like what we used to call sequential. And sometimes you'll still see that things are ordered and they'll call it sequential. And that is basically your how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, how to make a skateboard. That was one of the books in the IRA last week. How to fly a kite. Those kinds of things are temporal. So we have all kinds of different ways to organize text. There's other ways as well. And that's what we're working on this week. There are, an author can be, an author can be descriptive. Maybe through the entire passage, they are describing something, right? And I'm sure you're thinking, oh yeah. And this would be with some nonfiction. Okay, nonfiction, sometimes fiction as well, but mostly nonfiction. It can be cause and effect. Okay, a passage can be organized that way, cause and effect. These are text structures you really need to know. So hopefully you have that note paper and pencil. So cause, effect, description. We also have writing that can be organized as problem and solution. There's a problem such as pollution. The author is writing about some kind of problem such as pollution, and then within the writing in the text they come up with some different solutions. Okay, maybe the article is about obesity in our nation, and then the author also includes a solution to fighting obesity. So that's problem and solution. So we have problem, solution, we have description, we have chronological, we have temporal, and we have, those are the ones that we're going to talk about right now. So those are the text structures that we're going to cover right now. We'll cover more in some other lessons. If we think of the story or the passage, it's not a story, but if we think of the passage that we just read, and we think of those that we just discussed as far as text structure, we have tectonic plates, we have the ring of fire as a heading here, and then we have the three kinds of plate boundaries: convergent, divergent, and transform. So if we really think about this writer and this author and what they did, is it a cause and effect organization? Did they say this is the cause and then this is the effect? No. Is it a problem and a solution? No. Is it in chronological order? No, it's not that, and it's not a how-to either. So the only one that would fit for this one would be a description, and that's what's going on in here. The author does a very wonderful job of describing the different plates and how they move and describing the way they work on our planet Earth. So this is a descriptive writing piece. And why is it important to know that? Well, if you understand how the writing is organized, then you'll understand the text more, okay? And understand how the author's trying to convey the information to you, okay? It's also easier to find information and answer the questions. So that is the text structure. It is descriptive. Okay, so you know some of these questions will be on your puzzle pieces when you go back and look, so make sure that you're listening and taking great notes. Now, next, what are we going to look at? Next, we're going to look at some text features. Well, if you remember, text features are all those things like bold print, things that are highlighted, titles, those kinds of things. So if we look at our passage here, we have the title, That's a text feature. Tectonic plates, it's in bold print, right? We also have the heading. Sometimes they're called subtitles. The Ring of Fire, okay? We also have something that you don't always see as a text feature. This is actually a sign. Okay, so this sign says tsunami hazard zone. In case of earthquake, go to high ground or inland. So that is a sign that you may see where? Probably posted if you lived somewhere that there would possibly be a tsunami. What do you think these things are here? These things, they look like waves, don't they? And then this is a person maybe climbing and going to higher ground. Okay, so in case of an earthquake, go to high ground or inland. So that's a sign that's a text feature. And then we have some captions over here, and then we have our map. So the caption is map of the major tectonic plates and the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean region. And then it has a title to the map too. Well, that's the title actually to the assignment, but it's important to read. Oh, can't forget this. 3 kinds of plate boundaries: convergent, divergent, and transform. So that also helps us look and see how the information is organized. All right. So those are the text features that we see on the paper, which is different from text structure. Text structure is the way that the passage is organized, the words. Text features are the title, the headings or subtitles, the sign, the maps, the if there's pictures or the picture captions, those are text features. Okay, bold print, anything like that. All right, moving on. Let's think about author's purpose. What do you think would be the author's purpose for writing this? Why would a writer want to write this? What would be the reason for writing about this? Well, you have to kind of think about what information they're trying to get across. If we think that the author is trying to teach us something or trying to inform us of something, you're right. However, what are they trying to teach us? What are they trying to inform us about? Well, if you think of the most important details here, the author is trying to inform us about what? About the tectonic plates, right? And how they are shifting and how they are moving, and how this shifting and moving of these tectonic plates is causing what? It's causing earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis. So that's really what the author's trying to get across here. That's the main point. So that's the reason and the author's purpose for writing this, okay? Does that make sense? So when you think about the author's reason, you think, well, why would an author write this? Well, that's the most important thing. And if you think about every single heading, every subtitle, the map, that's what all of this is about. And if you as a writer would write this, why would you write it? Well, you'd want to inform your readers about that. Okay? So that's what this is about. Great. All right. So that's what we're going to conclude with. And I hope that helped you understand how to go about reading these passages and the expository text, because sometimes we see these and we get a little overwhelmed. Maybe we're not paying attention or close enough to the detail. So reading the text multiple times is very helpful. Looking at the text features. The first time we read, if you notice, we read for a different reason or a different purpose than we did the second time. And if we're looking at the words and trying to figure them out, we lose the comprehension. But the second time we read, we're doing more of the thinking about what's going on, and we're looking deeper into the passage. So Let's move on here. All right. So, moving on. We reread the text today. We identified the genre, the text structure, text features, and author's purpose, and we also talked about the main idea of the passage. Tomorrow, what we will be doing is we will reread the text again, and then we'll write a very brief summary with the key details. So in conclusion, amazing readers read text multiple times. They also read closely and look for clue words to help them identify genre, text structure, author's purpose, and main idea. Why do we do this? Well, I will become a more fluent reader and understand what I'm reading. So that is the main point of doing the shared reading and reading this way. So I hope that was very helpful. Don't forget you will have a puzzle piece to complete in Schoology, and don't forget to take notes and reach out to your teachers if you have questions. Have a great day.